Welcome to a Lightworkers podcast, where we discuss the power of the human mind, the subconscious, the law of attraction, and becoming a conscious creator of your own reality. I chat with awakened souls and alternative businesses about ascension, life, love, and healing. Navigate with us for tools and insights on your spiritual path to truly understanding you. Welcome to this episode of Lightworkers podcast. I'm your host, Serena, founder of Subliminals.com. I'm a sound healer, a subliminal content creator, and remedial hypnotist by day at my clinic, and a Akashic record reader by night, offering soul readings to my clients online and around the world. I like to share on my Lightworker podcast real life experiences and life lessons. Now, today I have a very special guest that I'm super excited about. I welcome to the pod Nina, the natural mystic. Welcome, Nina.
Hi, Serena. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you. Now, if you haven't heard the natural mystic, we're going to drop all the links below, but the natural mystic is making waves currently on YouTube with her twin flame videos and the twin flame content. And if you go on there, I mean, it's natural mystic -323 YouTube. The videos are anything from, 10 to 30,000 views. Every time she posts, it's kind of got a huge following. And there are a lot of twin flame coaches out there, we know, but what's unique about what Nina shares and what she creates in her content is she gets the information downloaded in such a way that it just hits your body. And for me personally, when I listen to her updates or what's happening with the divine masculines, the divine feminines, it truly is so empowering. And I feel like the information she shares is so important at this time. So if you found this episode, you were meant to find it, and you're finding it at exactly the right time. You're hearing the message. You're going to hear the codes of this at the right time for your journey, as we are all navigating, if you are on a twin flame journey. And I'm so excited that everything that's coming in, I mean, we're going to talk about her courses, we're going to talk about the website, what services she offers, readings, and also the updates. But I'm just so excited that you're here. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to say, Nina, welcome. Come into the pod and share. And we'll start off perhaps with, are you open to share anything about your own journey? Because I understand that you are in a physical union with your divine masculine, and I think that's quite important to navigate knowing you've come this far.
Yes. So I've had a very long journey. So I've had, a lot of experience, and that's why I've been able to see the energy the way that I have. And yeah, so I have my masculine is going through the alchemical process, and we are in constant contact with each other and have physical union. But it's still developing as well, I would say.
Love that. That's beautiful. So how many years has it been for you for your journey?
Well, honestly, as far as the twin flame aspect of it, it really started in about 1997, so quite some time ago, when I met a catalyst who was the person who really got me going on the journey, I would say. But unlike some who, they meet their twin and get activated by the twin, I had really basically had come through my whole life experience, has been a part of this whole journey. So, some people, it works out that way where it's an ongoing process throughout their whole life. And some people are going along and then they get activated. So, there are some differences.
I hear you with that, because I feel like some people are, spiritually awakened from perhaps a very young age, and then when they meet their twin flame, they're then twin flame activated, right? And it seems like a next level, like a slightly different experience, because you can be very much, aware of, like myself at 15 years old, aware of the corruption of the government, anti-vaxxer, I was very much into my crystals. I knew about the energies, but I didn't get twin flame activated till I was 36 years old, right? 2021. So although I'd had a whole lifetime of being spiritually awake and very spiritual and very aware, I truly didn't know, although I knew the concept of twin flames, I didn't know until, I'd met my divine masculine.
Mm. Absolutely. So that, yeah, it can go either way there. And yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's not really, going to unfold exactly the same for everybody. We do each pair of twins has their own, soul stuff to work through, and it can really vary. So that part of it, we don't want to think that that all has to look the same. Those are the parts of it that can look very, very different. Whereas when we get to the energetics of the actual connection itself, this is where we're seeing a lot of, stuff that kind of has to happen, right? There's some definite things that have to happen when it comes to the energetics. And that's a different story. That's when we get to the alchemy. That's what we're talking about, right? This alchemical process that's happening individually for yourself, whether you're the divine feminine or the masculine. They also have to go through their own alchemical process. And then you also go through the merging alchemical process. So there's like three things that are happening: your alchemical process, their alchemical process, and then the union alchemical process, or the marriage, you could say.
And you've done some incredible videos on this, actually, on the YouTube, the alchemic marriage and the process and the energetics, because people do often forget, don't we? We're like, we get caught up in the romantic side of it because it's a masculine, feminine, and it's like, but the reality of this is a journey of the soul. This is an energetic connection. So for those who are not aware, obviously go check that out. But let's just in simplicity, in layman's terms, what is the alchemic marriage? How does that work? Because I think the way you described the sharing of the chakras blew my mind away. I didn't know about this before. I learned so much from it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So everybody has their own chakra system. Everybody, if you have a soul, you have chakras, and so does your twin. So the twin flame dynamic is it's one soul, but there's two bodies. Okay, and so you have your own chakra system, they have their own chakra system. But when it comes to twin flames, because you're cut from the same cloth, you actually also share your chakra system too. Now, if you're the divine feminine, as I've mentioned oftentimes, that the feminines, they operate more dominantly in the three top chakras, the masculines dominating the three lower chakras. This is, those are the masculine, feminine, strengths, if you will. But you also, as a feminine, have to balance all the chakras, including those three lower chakras and all the chakras. And they also, as the masculine, have to do that as well. But once you have done that, and like I mentioned, you become a pillar. Once you've balanced all your chakras, this is when you should become a pillar of either divine feminine or divine masculine, whatever your dominant polarity is. And when that happens between both twins, and so, the feminine is a pillar and the masculine is a pillar, they have all of their chakras balanced. But then what happens is the feminine is still more lit up. You could, because they're colors, right? And they have it's like a light as well, you could see it as. And so I see as the feminine, their three top chakras are still like more lit up, basically. Energetically, they're like really powerful, although they are still using those masculine chakras as well, because we need it. We need to use those chakras. We need to, in order to be whole just on your own, because we are actually whole on our own without the twin, once we go through this alchemical process. But they also are just more lit up. You're more lit up in those three top chakras. They are more lit up in the three lower chakras, and they're balanced, right? They're balanced because sometimes they're just stuck. Sometimes they're spinning in the wrong direction, totally shut down. So once you've gone through that alchemical process of purging and healing, they should be, really bright and beaming, basically. So yours are lit up in the 3 top, theirs are lit up in the 3 lower, and then they connect up that way. You see, they sort of connect up because you have balanced and you're in your strength. And then that connecting point is always the heart chakra. That's the glue that's like fusing them together, basically. And that's really God. that's the place where God dwells, is that heart chakra.
I love how you describe that. It's so beautiful. And to think of it like that as well, how, all of the chakras kind of merge and we come together in this gorgeous union, bringing us back to one, because that's the whole point, isn't it? The coming back to yourself, to the one, to the divine within you, that knowing, and it's incredible. I wanted to ask you, just your opinion of these things, because I appreciate you get some incredible downloads, and I feel like I'd love to talk about your your background, your spiritual awakening. You mentioned off call actually that you had so many downloads as a young child as well, but I think perhaps we will cover that on another podcast when it's more about sharing your personal journey. But for the sake of like the collective at the moment, because there is so much confusion around this journey and what happens and what we do, there's too many formulas. I think there's a lot of misinformation. Some of the twin flames, there is one particular twin flame coach who thinks that every single person incarnated on this planet at this time is a twin flame. And I thought about that because I used to follow Elizabeth Prophet's from the 80s, her talks on twin flames years ago, before I even knew I had a twin flame. And it kind of contradicted what Elizabeth Prophet was saying for me. And I was like, oh, okay, but I see that this person wants to, if they see everyone as a twin flame, then everyone's a customer, right? So it could be for monetary value. So I actually tapped into the Akashic records the other night, and I asked the record keepers and guides, how many twin flames are incarnated at this time? And I got a number. I got a very specific number I wanted to share because I found it quite interesting. I got 97234. So that's 97,234. And it was like that's how many the guides have said are incarnated at this time. But I was interested to know, because I know I have an understanding that God creates a person for everyone. There's someone for everyone if they choose to, as well as, soulmates, multiple connections, etc. But the twin flame label seems to be very much a fashion statement right now. Or he's my twin flame, or she's my twin flame, and they want to jump on the bandwagon. But how do you feel about this sacred journey, and how do you feel about how many are incarnated? And is this connected to the 144,000, the volunteers?
Sure, I'd love to touch on that. So, yeah, from my understanding and how I see this is that everyone who has a soul has a twin flame, but not everyone that's here on this earth right now has their twin flame incarnated at the same time as them. So that in itself is very unique, or it has been, okay? Especially when, Elizabeth Clare Prophet was on the scene. It was very rare even then. So every time a pair of twins connect here in the 3D, this creates a rip in the matrix and allows others to come through. And we have this is where we have waves. So we have these waves of twins that are coming in. And so the earlier waves were much smaller. And each time we get to another wave, these waves get bigger. So it's getting bigger and bigger. This allows more and more to come through, basically. So I would say it's highly inaccurate to say that every single person has their twin flame here on this earth. It's just not the case, is the way I would see that. There is some sacredness to that, and it really is more about the soul's evolution. Okay, so, in order to even incarnate and go through this journey, because it is a soul's journey, it's not just a romantic journey. So there are a lot of people that may believe that they are on a twin flame journey that are just not, okay? Because it's not just about romance. And there has been a lot of, it's basically been saturated out there. Basically we've gone from soulmate to twin flame, like it's this, advanced soulmate or something. But it really is a soul's journey. It really is. It's the further you get along on the journey too, your consciousness, see, this is the key, is that it's actually expanding your consciousness. And it's really about unconditional love. So it will basically, this journey should evolve you to the point of unconditional love for everybody. That's what New Earth is about. So these soul connections, are very beautiful, and we can share some really wonderful experiences, especially with high-level soulmates. These are, very beautiful connections that we have that can expand us and, activate us and do all kinds of things. But the twin flame it's really the restoration of the soul. So in order to get to that point, you have to be operating from a place that's ready to do that. And oftentimes has a lot of sacrifice involved. It's not just egoic. It's very much where we should be coming out of the ego and into soul, basically. So if it's not doing that, then it's really not a twin flame journey, is what it's just not. And so we can really, have a lot of connection with somebody, amazing sex with somebody, but that doesn't make them a twin flame. It's about the soul. You should come to a point where there is purification of your soul in order for more divine light to actually flow through you, because that's what it's actually doing. It's what it's doing is it's purifying you to become like crystal, because once you become clear like crystal, then the light can flow through you, and you should be expanding your consciousness to be in the vibration of unconditional love for everybody, not just your twin. That's where it has to come out of that, you see. It's, there is basically an evolution that takes you to that point.
Absolutely, because at this time, isn't it, every single human being who is incarnated, we are awakening, and if we're not awakening, we will leave and maybe come back another time. Our light will be needed in the other realms. We are having that, upgrade from carbon to crystalline DNA. And even if our twin flame is not incarnated in this time, we're still going to have a form of awakening. Because I have many people that say to me, oh, I have my twin flame, but they're in 5D, they're on the other side, or they've never come in, or they're a galactic, and they're just guiding them in the energy. So it could be that they're also having that, but not in a physical sense. How does that sit with you in terms of description? Does that work?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. We're all going to get there. That's my answer to that, is as we move further into New Earth, we're all going to get there. We're going to have, this is why there's no rush. There's no rush for any of this either. You don't need to rush into any of this. And that's why it's okay to even have a soulmate and have, explore those connections, because there's going to be plenty of time once we get there. We're in that transitional process now. So sure, you could definitely, that's actually how it's been working, is that essentially one twin would be on the earth and the other would be up in the astral. And then, they would take turns being on the earth, one up the astral, and they still could connect. They could connect through the dream state and different means. Obviously, as we get closer now, all of that stuff is getting really strong. And so, sure, people could definitely be connecting with their twin from another realm. Absolutely. I see that to be very possible. And essentially, people that are, have yet to awaken, those people are still going to get there too. So it's not like we're saying, oh, we're special. It's everybody's going to get there, basically. There's actually plenty of time for that, you see. So we're going through a transitional point now, and so there is a purpose for having twins at this time too, which is to hold more light, because that's really what they are designed to do essentially, is that they can hold more light. So an individual that comes here on this earth can awaken and balance all their chakras and can be an amazing master basically, and have, you know, this radiant energy and an expanded aura and so much light flowing through them, and do profound things and change things in this realm just on their own. But when you get a pair of twins that have gone through that alchemical process and you put them together, it's like a nuclear bomb of divine light. It's like really intense. So you don't actually need a lot of them. You know, you don't need a lot. But we will get to the point where it's going to be totally commonplace for people to be with their twins, to meet their twins. It's just going to be easy. It's natural. It's normal. In fact, the generations, the children that are growing up now, I see that very much being the case, where they meet their twin very young, in fact. And, you know, it's just a totally natural process, because we're past the dark ages. We're past all of that struggle. You know, we're really coming into a time where we're just going to flow right into it pretty nicely. I see, especially when we get to this next wave, which is, you know, already starting to get momentum going at this point.
So it's the rainbow children, isn't it? The rainbow children that have incarnated recently, from, you know, kind of being born 2015 onwards. I see so much with the children, how aware, how awake they are, how they're pushing the matrix, they're pushing the system, the boundaries of it. And it does tie in so beautifully with the golden age that we're birthing, the golden age of Aquarius. And I think with people who believe they're on the journey often forget this. And you said a really very good point, which is there is no rush. It seems like there's this rush, this like race to union, and it's the mind, isn't it, that has forgotten what this truly is. And it's a fine line balance daily, is what I've found, to just become the observer and say, hey, you know, this is not what we think it is. This is not romantic. Yes, it's you and another body, and that's what, you know, how it's going to end, but this is a journey of the soul, which is why all of the teachings, which is the one thing that I resonate with, that everyone says, is we have to be in the moment, in the now moment, enjoying the journey, because it is so important not to get caught up in the race. Oh, my union is imminent. Oh, I've got to do. It's like, no, we're missing the purpose of it then. Then we're missing the organic process of how it works. Because I know a lot of your updates are based on the astrology, the astronomy of the waves of how it's working at the moment, particularly wave 1, 2, and 3 of the twin flames who are incarnated. And you said that this year, in one of your most recent updates, is going to be quite important, because we know the masculines have been in this cocoon state, right? They've been in their sleeper state. And you posted a video where you spoke about how, because so many times the feminines believe that the masculines go through the same thing we do, and we were like, no way do they have the same awakening that we do spiritually. So would you like to share a little bit about, first of all, what the masculines actually go through and how it is for them, and how I'm so passionate about how we need to have a bit of grace for them also, and that what we've been doing, you know, by calling them narcissist, toxic, is not the right thing to do. And how can we then help them? What can we do? So then I will be sending them to your website to do the course. So would you like to explain a little bit about that, please?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah, I'm very passionate about this, as you know. I felt it was grossly unbalanced within the twin flame community, and you know, there just wasn't information either. You know, I know that there was a lot of masculines that were starting to slightly awaken, but you know, if they had come to the twin flame community, would have just been like, you know, hiding hiding after, you know, seeing what was out there. So you know, I really did feel very much guided to come out there, and I just received so many downloads on the masculine. It's really beautiful, actually. So basically, you know, we know that the divine feminines awaken first, which is, you know, what an honor, what a blessing. We're very lucky to really be able to do that, right? How wonderful is that? So that's a beautiful thing in itself. You know, we get to awaken first, and we get to have more time to do the awakening too. So we get to, you know, we get to start first, and we get more time to do the process. Basically, we get twice as much time as they do, and we have I would say, an easier job. It's just, you know, I know there's going to be some that don't like to hear that, but there's some truth to it, because there are different roles and different jobs that we're doing. And, it's just they've got a bigger, dirtier job to do. They really do. And so, this is just the reality of it. And, so that's just important to note there. Basically, they have less time. They have half the time to awaken, and they have a harder job to do. They have to do the physical part of this is very, very difficult. And then energetically, they tend to have more deeper, darker things to overcome within the energy. Not only the energy, but physically too. Like they will tend to have more to overcome on both of those levels, both physically and internally, because they have been attacked. They have been attacked, and they've been targeted, I could say, is another thing. It's because once they do go through this process, that's going to be game over. It's totally game over when they complete this process. So it's been crucial to any type of dark forces and power that they've ever had, which is, not much anymore, I would say. But they have really attempted to the best of their ability to target the masculines as well. So that's another aspect. They were more targeted, they have less time, and they have more to overcome and more to do. So that's why we should not give them such a hard time, to be honest with you. That's really what I've seen. This is what I've been shown through multiple downloads. The feminines do play a very important role. So I'm not underplaying their role, that's for sure. It's actually very beautiful what the divine feminines do. But the reality is they're very different roles, and they're doing very different things, and their awakenings are completely different.
So with the dark agenda that was attacking, because I'm never going to give this much energy. It is a polarity. It is not something we have fear about. A couple of my friends, we had a similar message last year, and I flew out to the States to meet them. We had a friend who was from the West Coast and a friend from the East Coast, and we met in this trio. We're called the Divine Trio, and we created a meditation, actually, a twin flame meditation to banish any infiltration on the masculines. And that was what we were called to do, to come together to input each of our segment into this meditation to create like a statement for the feminines, for the masculine, to assist with it, because we felt like they were being manipulated, so led astray with karmic energy, drawn in by addictions and that kind of thing. And it's the analogy of the in the Matrix, the woman in the red dress leading them away, like distracting them, right?
Absolutely.
So we definitely saw that, and within the Akashic records I saw that so clearly. But there was an element of me witnessing this, and I knew that back in, I think it was just before, at the height of lockdown during COVID, we got a lot of messages from, because I work a lot with the galactic energy, like the Arcturians, and the message was that the dark at the top, their heads have been chopped off. It's very much crumbling system, but still it's playing out, isn't it? This timeline is still playing out, and they're still playing the bad guys coming in and pushing the energy. So it's also beautifully orchestrated, as always, because I always say, not a hair moves on your head without God knowing, because it's all being allowed to play out for us, for the journey. But I did definitely see very clearly how they were so distracted, and even now some of the masculines are very much still in that being infiltrated. So there is something that you have come up with, haven't you, as a solution for that, to assist with guiding that. And I think booking a session with you first and having that initial, where are you at on your individual journey, and then you guiding them to which course they need to do, is going to be so important.
Yeah, because I had a very big download, the last Lionsgate, that was very profound on the role of the divine feminine once she really steps into her power. So this is really important, and this is why I was guided to protect this particular part of this download and this energy is because it's really essentially not for the masculines. It just doesn't need to be public, basically. And it's not for every feminine yet. It depends on where you're at on your journey. If you're still in obsessive energy, it's really not for you. You really need to get past that. You need to, fill your own cup first. Once you have become a pillar of divine feminine energy and you have filled your own cup with self-love and you are secure in your own self and you have done a lot of the purifying. I mean, that's an ongoing process, so you don't have to be perfect there either. But once you've gotten to a certain level where you are, pretty well, along the journey, you could say, and in your power, more in your power, the more in your power you are, the better as far as this goes. And once you do get there, then this is where it gets really amazing, where you can start directly working with your own masculine through your subconscious, because your subconscious is connected to, well, everything. It's connected to the quantum field, which is the mind of God, and that's also connected to everybody else's subconscious mind, and especially the twin. So we can directly work with them. And essentially what we are doing is we are through that subconscious mind and working with it, we are really elevating our consciousness and choosing higher versions of ourself and also higher versions of our twin. And so this is a very beautiful thing. And what's really great about it, from what I have seen, is that it not only benefits your own twin flame, your own masculine, once you put it into your subconscious and it gets put into the quantum field, other masculines will be picking up this energy too. We're literally putting that energy into the quantum field, which, like I said, it's connected to everybody. So that means anybody that is sort of open to it to some degree, you could say, is going to also pick that up. So it could help multiple people that you don't even know, that you're not even aware of. It literally will just go into that masculine energy. But it will also very much affect yours, because you are, in a sense, directing it to them as well. But I found it really beautiful that it actually was also helping others. I just thought that was really cool.
I can vouch for that. I literally purchased your course last year and I started doing it, and a friend of mine, who I think's come to you, is a divine masculine but in a feminine body, and she literally responds to everything that's in the course.
Oh, wow.
Everything is there. And I'm like, this is interesting, because we have an open communication daily and she resonates with being a twin flame and so do I. So literally she's playing out in her life everything within it, which is wild to witness. So I can definitely vouch that it works. And within 24 hours of doing that, my divine masculine reached out. So he heard the call.
Oh yeah, it works, especially when you're in your power. That's the whole key.
Advocate here for this. So 100%, if you are out of the energy of obsessive, if you are standing in your power, in the neutral energy, or if you want to make sure, book a session with Nina and then she will guide you to which one is suitable for you, because highly recommend them. I cannot recommend enough the downloaded content that you have within that, the information that you have within it. I watch the videos over and over, because each time I listen and each time I go back into the course and do what you tell us to do, it's something else. I learn something else. It has many layers. It's multifaceted. So I'm a big, I'm definitely vouching for your
Fantastic. I love to hear that too. It really just, oh man, it just really, it makes it all worth it, right? It's just so beautiful to see that happening. And I get a lot of good feedback on it. And in fact, I just had another beautiful person reach out to me saying that, how wonderful it's been and wanted to share that with me. So yeah, I am, just really honored to have been able to download it and to share it with whoever it's for. Because when I get these downloads, I'll tell you, some of them are just so powerful. When it came to this one particularly, I was in the bath, which is the feminine energy water, and it was regarding the feminine. So it was just so beautiful the way it happened. And I literally, for this one, It was so, so powerful. I felt the presence very profoundly of two very powerful angels standing there. It really brought me to tears. So I knew that it was something that was really big. I knew it was big, that two angels would literally come down and give this to me, as they did. And so, it's always very humbling, you could say, when to be in that position and to be, to be given those types of experiences and to be able to share it with others and to help others. I mean, what's better than that?
You're on your mission and purpose for the soul as well. And you said about, obviously, when we do that for the collective. It's so true, because when we heal for others, right? When we heal for ourselves, we create a ripple effect in all aspects of our journey and what we're doing. And it's so beautiful how it all plays out for the collective. And they did some studies recently on how, say the energy of one person with, the 12 layers of your auric field, your beautiful vibration, just meditating is lovely. Now add another person, and, even collective meditation, the power of everyone focusing on one area is literally a game changer for the energy. So imagine everyone that purchases that particular course, or the courses that you do on this, that amount, that percentage of collective energy all doing the same thing is creating waves within the twin flame community. Is creating huge tidal waves for the divine masculines, the divine feminine collective, for twin flames. And the more we all focus collectively on that, I mean, they even did it with studies on prayer. If someone was to be in a church, for example, and pray, and then they had 10 people praying and then 20 people praying, the energy of that can actually heal someone. Like, that's how we know when we are in union, in that unity, collective consciousness, we co-create everything so powerfully. So this separation consciousness is dying. It's the old world, isn't it? Where it's all just on my own and I'll sort myself out. That's the mind. And so coming into this, doing everything together, the power of that is so exciting to witness.
No, I agree. And that's where we're headed. We're headed toward expanded consciousness. And this is what I've been gifted with in a lot of ways, and how I'm able to see what I can see with the energy, and how I can get these downloads is because the consciousness is so expanded back that I can look down at it in a lot of ways. And when you have that expanded consciousness, because we are little gods, we're not the ultimate supreme God, but we have the ability to have that expanded consciousness too, right? So we do have to get out of this limited, smaller, this is where I think a lot of people are kind of, at the beginning of that awakening, are just so focused in on just their twin, right? That's, you're like boxed right into just focusing on them, where the further you get along, you start expanding and expanding out into, like I was saying earlier, which is this unconditional love for everybody. That's what it's all about. So, it has to expand out of just the twin, right? It has to. That's why oftentimes there will be all these separations and, a lot of pain involved, because it's trying to break you open to that. It's trying to break you open and stop playing small. Stop playing small and stop being in this limited. It's very limited when we do that. And so as you start to expand, you're stepping into the unlimited, and we're basically just expanding out bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where we're getting very close now, especially those that are working with their subconscious mind. I think that's a game changer. That's a game changer when you start working with that powerhouse of energy. Powerhouse basically is what it is. It's, we've been using only 5% of our brains. And that's the conscious mind, right? 5 to 10%. And we've done a lot with that. But that subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of our reality. That's a lot that we have not been utilizing. So once we start tapping into that, and we see its potential, like you were saying, like, oh, it's like affecting these people in my surroundings. That's how powerful it is. It's that your subconscious mind, people are responding basically to your subconscious mind, other people. It's a beautiful and amazing thing that we can do there. And we are, there's a lot in the subconscious mind through, our upbringing or the programming that's been there until now. And we have to dig in there and sort of weed it out, clean it out. And not only that, it's beautiful because the process is really just about reprogramming it, just like it sounds. So like, instead of focusing on what you don't want, you're focusing on what you do want. And I think that's very empowering, because you get to choose essentially, who are you? How are you showing up in the world? Who is your twin? Who are the other people around you? How do people show up in your reality? And it can be very powerful as you let go of those more denser, negative thoughts, which are vibrations, because everything is vibration. Once we clear those old limiting ones and those denser, more negative vibrations, we start operating from these higher vibrational thoughts of, being worthy and loved and all of these things, which is where we're headed into New Earth, where there's, no fear and, all of this, love vibration, this very heart chakra expanding type of energy for everybody. This is the thing, is we are all connected to that quantum field. And that's what I think that journey of manifesting and reprogramming your subconscious mind teaches you. And that's why it's so expanding, is because you're like, oh, okay, I'm creating my reality. I'm affecting other people. I'm affecting what timeline I'm even on through my own consciousness. And that's very expanding.
Absolutely spot on. I agree with everything you're saying. I love this subject very much. Super passionate about this one. And what I find is tough, though, for the feminines to grasp, just from my own observation of lots of clients who come to me who are divine feminines on the twin flame journey for readings and for the akashics, or for a subliminal, for example, what I see is that they are, like you said, they're hyper fixating on the person, because they've not. It's almost like I want to strip it all back to basics, back to bare basics, because some people are truly being activated by their twin flame, and then for the first time having a true spiritual awakening. So they're going to have their tower moments, they're going to have multiple ego deaths, they're going to be like deconstructing everything within their reality. And what they're doing is they're not finding, and this is what we have to do as the feminines, is walk the tightrope, I say, daily, between the fine line balance of the ego mind, the higher self, knowing who that is. The soul knows that's me in another body. I need that in my life. I know this has got to happen. I know I've got to do something here. To the mind going, well, that's my person, and I want to marry him, and here's my, that the difference between the two. And that's that I think for the feminines is the hardest part to navigate, is the fine line balance between not getting so hyper fixated on the physical aspect of them, because the mind then runs with it. Because if the higher self's coming in with a feeling and we're getting this physical response in our body, the mind takes that and it runs with it. It's like, oh, you're special, are you? Oh, well, let me create all these scenarios. And so this is why it's so important. But we have to go through that, right, organically. We have to go through the obsession, through the pain, the rejection, the chasing, to go, oh, that's not what this was about. And then, like you're saying about the consciousness then expands, and we get out of that and we start going, okay, yeah, so that's my person over there. I know that's me in another body. I know how this transpires, but I need to focus on this part of me, the me, love me. What are my woundings? So the fine line balance is really hard to navigate initially. And if you are just finding out you are a twin flame, or just awakening to this, then probably you won't be listening to this podcast because you're not quite ready yet. Or you might come back to it. You might, bookmark it for later when you are further along the journey. But it's when you are truly past all of that, then you can come in and say, okay. And one of the most beautiful analogies I received within a reading, an Akashic reading about this, was the guides portrayed to this feminine as they were in a maze. So the divine masculine and divine feminine started into the maze, and the divine feminine saw the path straight to the top, and at the top were these gates, which was the garden and the gate analogy, that opened up to this beautiful utopian energy. So she went straight to the top. She just walked straight through, like up the pillar, boom, done. The masculine went left, and he started going through the maze, and he's going through the brambles, and he was going through it really slowly, really. Now, he doesn't have a map or a torch, and the guides had said to her, you need to give him a map and a torch, because he's going around, getting stuck in the maze, going round in circles, not quite being able to navigate. You need to guide him with the map and the torch. And then when I found your course, it was like, oh, that's what they meant.
Oh, I love that.
So, and I'm creating it to a reel, actually. I was like, this is perfect. It was the perfect analogy from the Record Keepers of Guides, of course, not my download.
Fantastic. Yeah, that totally is an alignment. Yeah, so essentially that's how it works. So, this is where it gets a little bit interesting as far as the energetics of the twin flames. As I've mentioned a little bit. I haven't talked about how the feminine is the conscious and the masculine is the subconscious too deeply. I did in the course a little bit. I think I did touch on that. That was one thing that I think I cleared up for some, because actually the subconscious would be considered the feminine, right? That's where I think people, there could be some misunderstanding here, is the fact that, the twins, what they do energetically, there's the sharing, that there's this, exchange. There's an energy exchange that happens with twins. And it's really fascinating. It happens also through the subconscious and the conscious mind. So although the masculine would be considered the conscious mind, right? They're logical and they're the conscious normally, but that's where the masculines on this part of the energetic system, that's where they receive from the conscious part. So that's why it's you would consider it, although it is masculine, the conscious part of the mind is actually masculine, but the feminine actually dominates it. It's the one actually giving from the conscious mind. And then the subconscious is technically the feminine part, but it's actually the masculine that resides there and receives from there. So this is a funny little thing that happens, energetically and between the twins, basically, where the feminine will consciously direct them into the subconscious, and then they take what they receive from the subconscious and physically do that thing, whatever that, like you're saying, the directions, the map and the directions, basically. So, that's how this energetic system works. This is the teamwork that happens, and how the feminine is playing such an important role of essentially giving them, somewhat, you could say, the map to it, and helping them through that powerhouse, right? Because that's the other part, is that they are the powerhouse. They have to actually physically doing something is harder, right? It's harder to physically do it. The feminine directs them energetically, but they have to physically do it because they are the physical twin. So this is how they are working together. Both, one is, the feminine is giving from above, as I say, which is the conscious mind into the subconscious, and the masculine twin is receiving from below and then physically giving from above through the physical, through the consciously, through the conscious part. So, it's a beautiful system, really. But once you get hold of that and you start actually doing it, this is where the journey can get really powerful. Basically, it can get really powerful. This is where we are shifting into higher timelines, which I do speak about in my videos, which is twin flame unions are on the highest timeline. And essentially, we get to the highest timeline through purifying our body, our mind, and our soul. And typically, we will begin when we start this journey. The awakening journey usually starts with our physical body. All of a sudden, we just can't eat certain things. All of a sudden, we get guided to get healthier in some way physically, because our physical bodies are actually really important, and they are connected to the other parts of us through our spirit and our mind as well. We know that these are all interplaying and connected together as well. And so that will be the first thing to sort of kickstart the journey, because it's necessary. That's a part of raising your vibration, right? So when we raise our vibration, this is how we get to higher timelines. And so when we do that, we get to a little bit higher timeline. Usually the second thing to happen is your spirituality. So you will be guided into maybe some isolation, starting to learn more, listening to podcasts, reading books, meditating, connecting into spirit on some level. And that will also raise your vibration and take you into another higher timeline. And usually the last one to go is the mind, because this is the most powerful one right here. This is the big one. Once we get into the mind, which is what all the masters were actually talking about, is the mind. So that once we get to the mind and we start reprogramming it and purifying it, like I was saying, everything's energy, including thoughts. And if we have these lower, denser, heavier, more negative thoughts that are just in there that we're unaware of, because oftentimes within the subconscious mind, they're not clear. It's more feeling oriented, so it's not clear. And it can be almost hidden to us what's even in there. But we can know what it is, essentially, by our 3D circumstances. That's the key, is that as we start to do this, we can see what's in our subconscious mind from our 3D circumstances, because that is the reflection of our subconscious. And so that's why it's so powerful, and that's why it will transport you to your highest timeline. But that's going to take time, because remember, the mind, it's very powerful for one thing, and we've been, living our life with these repetitive thoughts for however long you've been on this earth. And, we can have up to 60,000 thoughts in a day. Okay, that's a lot of thoughts. And how many of those are we actually aware of? Most of them are negative thoughts, and they're repetitive thoughts that are just, it's like on repeat, right? And so this is why reprogramming the mind is so powerful. It's because we're taking the reins, we're taking hold of that and consciously creating creating our reality through our subconscious mind. And so we're taking hold of those 60,000 thoughts that we can have each day and making them positive. And that's very, very powerful. And over time, it will transport you to your highest timeline. That's where the unions are. And essentially, life gets so good as you start that process that you're not that worried anymore, right? You start to feel really, really good with or without your twin. It doesn't become such a major focus just because you feel so good. This is that filling your cup that I talk about. Fill your own cup. We have to do that. We have to fill our cup with these beautiful, high vibrational thoughts, and thoughts are energy. That's what transports us to our highest timeline. And then the twin is just the cherry on the top. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And the twin is normally the energy marker, aren't they? Like for my divine masculine, he will always come in, trigger me, inspire me to do something. I'll then make some radical change in my life. And I'm like, wow. And then he goes again. I'm like, thank you. This is amazing. It's like, yes, this is what you needed to do. Or I'll get an energy marker. I'll get the signs that if I'm doing something and I'm on the right track, the songs, the signs, his name, I'm like, thank you. Beautiful. I see you. You got me. And it's the reminder of that. And you touched on a very good thing here with when we came here, didn't we, to transcend the mind. That's the whole point we were saying about mastery, is transcending the ego, the mind, knowing we are not this persona. All of Dr. Joe's teaching, all of the scriptures in every kind of thing. It's like to be the master of this consciousness is to know that we are infinite consciousness in a body. We in this meat suit, and we have the mind, and it has the conscious and the subconscious, yes. But how do we create the reality? We have to do it with repetition. And like you were saying about the programs, if you're over 35 years old, you've got very deep ingrained programs into your, those neural pathways are very deep. So when you're introduced to what you're saying about working with the subconscious, and, if you're heading over to Nina's course because you're ready for that union timeline, the highest timeline, you've got to stick at it. What I will say, minimum like 66 days. I think they did a study that said in order to rewrite the programming, it takes 66 days to really integrate the new programming, or 6 to 8 weeks for, I mean, quantum science teaches us this, 6 to 8 weeks for the metaphysical, the energy, to show up in the physical. So 6 to 8 weeks of non-stop, day in, day out doing it, or, you know, or 651 affirmations will also do it. So if you said it 651 times, you're going to start to put into the body then leads the mind into that. It's going to show up in your physical reality. It's going to be, but those 3 things are really important, like the repetition of it. We can't just go, oh, I've done it once now, where is it? You know, we get the mind gets complacent, doesn't it, with these things? It's like, no, keep going. And then, like you're saying, once you're there, it flows, because it's a part of you. It's a part of you've integrated it. The body just does it automatically. It's your new program is put in.
Yeah, and it can be challenging too, especially earlier on. It can be very challenging, because what will happen within the mind as we start to reprogram it is that it will start to purge out the old thoughts too. So, you know, that can be challenging for sure. As it's purging out, you're going to feel it. You're actually going to feel it more than you've ever felt it. In fact, you can start to feel those limiting beliefs really come to the surface. And that doesn't feel good. Anytime we're, you know, purging something out of our system in some way, shape, or form, it doesn't necessarily feel good. And so as we're doing and proceeding on and persisting, because it's really all about persistence and being consistent, like you're saying, it's got to be a daily thing that you're doing. It is now your lifestyle. It is your mental diet. You know, are you on top of your mental diet, basically? And so the more that you do that, there becomes a little bit of a battle in the mind, because these 2 coexisting, you know, these 2 opposing thoughts can't coexist within the mind. So one of them's got to go. And at the beginning, you know, that the old negative thought is the dominant thought within there. And then you're starting to put in a new thought within your subconscious mind, and you're starting to fill up your cup with this beautiful new thought of worthiness. Let's just say worthiness here, because that's usually the big one, is I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy, actually, you know. And so that's very important, because we can't get to our highest timeline with a vibration of I'm not worthy. It's not possible. We just can't vibrationally, because it's, you know, timelines are vibration. It's not really a change in the actual physical space. It's a vibrational change. And so we can't get there with a vibration of I'm not worthy. But when we start putting the vibration in our system, in our subconscious mind of I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy, like repetitively, like you're saying, you know, if we do this long enough, then it starts to get pretty strong in there. It can get stronger and stronger, and you don't even have to believe it, to be honest with you. It's just the repetition. You know, it's just a repetitive thought that you're putting in there. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't really matter. But you're just repeatedly putting that in there, and it will start to challenge the other thought that's opposing that new thought. And so what will happen is, as the new thought of I am worthy gets stronger and stronger, it will start pushing out the old thought of I'm not worthy. But as it does that, it will come to the surface. So a lot of people experience not feeling good at times on that journey too, because it comes to the surface, and you might feel really unworthy for a little while. There might come, you know, it seems to be only short periods of time, like, you know, sometimes it's only a few hours. All of a sudden it comes boom right up, and it's like all of a sudden you're really triggered by this sense of unworthiness, you know, or whatever you're you know, whatever you're doing in there, and it will come up really powerfully. But what's good about it, even though it doesn't feel good, is all of a sudden you become really, really aware of your thoughts and your feelings in there. They become, you know, you may have never actually seen that thought of I'm not worthy. Like I was saying before, it can be really hard to even see what's in there. Well, when you start putting in I am worthy, and then that unworthiness comes to the surface, you're like, oh, there it is. I see you. You know, and it doesn't feel good too. But if you can press through those moments, then it will release out of your system. And then you start to embody, like you were saying, the I am worthy. And then you start naturally operating from the vibration of I am worthy. Everything you do, every action, every thought that you start to have starts coming from the vibration, because it's just a vibration. I am worthy.
You're accurate, spot on, because you do feel it and it pushes you. The conscious mind will always kind of go, hold on a minute, that's a load of rubbish. Like when I first started doing, for my clients, or if I'm doing hypnosis, if I'm doing a I am affirmation, my ego mind's like, well, that's not true. What a load of rubbish. Well, where is it then? It questions it. And to recognize that's the old programming and going, well, no, I'm sorry, this is what's happening. And to push through, your higher self is like, no, this is what we're telling the subconscious. So this is how it is. And the subconscious believes anything you tell it. So we can then keep implementing that program, and it's going to eventually just do it, just does it, sees it, does it, whatever you tell it. But it's so interesting, the uncomfort when it does come up, and it's pushing through the boundaries of that. And apparently we default, with every 3 hours, this is wild, every 3 hours, if we are not inputting our new programs of what we do want, or it's not a part of your new neural pathway, every 3 hours the brain resets back to what we call default factory settings, and it's defaulting back to your original programming, which could be from childhood, which could be childhood trauma, pain, whatever, where the unworthy comes from, or I'm not worthy of abundance, I'm not worthy of love. That will keep coming back in every 3 hours, and I observe it even with myself, with my clients, my friends, my highly spiritually awakened incredible people in my life. I see it. And I'm like, whoa, I can see it so clearly, that they're like, oh, yeah, I did my meditation, I did my gratitude, I did all my affirmations. And they're like, oh, and then the old program comes in. I'm like, hold on. So we have to stop ourselves. We have to anchor it in, rewrite it, scratch the CD, put the new one in. So it's almost like you've got to be ludicrous with it. You've got to continuously, all day, every day, if you can, if you're at work or if you're doing things with the family, just keep doing the affirmations, or record yourself saying something. Or, this is why we do Subliminals. This is why you've got your course. This is why we are pushing people, because it keeps you in that new programming, because it doesn't have time to default back to the old one. So it's almost like we've got to override it. We've got to hack it. That's how we hack the matrix.
I totally agree with you. Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, it's really important. The people that are successful at this are the ones that are like super persistent. They just do it as much as humanly possible. Do it in the day. Do it while you're sleeping. Do it constantly, as much as you can, basically. If you're going for a walk on the beach, or if you're going for a walk, if you're doing the dishes, if you're folding laundry, if you're doing the gardening, any opportunity, you should be listening to it, basically, just on repeat, repeating that, just saturating that subconscious mind with these new thoughts, these high vibrational thoughts, this new story of, like I said, choosing. You have to start choosing who you are, because you can choose who you are. You can choose a lot of things, through your subconscious mind, not just yourself. You can choose, infinite amount of things through there. But when those negative thoughts do arise with that purging process, there's ways that you can deal with that. And you said it really nicely. I like the way you mentioned that there. And so it's basically, you want to just start kind of talking to it. And there's different ways you can do that. You can basically, as those, that limited thought comes in, you can just talk to it like it's a little child, and just say, oh yeah, we used to think that, but we don't think that anymore. You can be really loving and kind to it, like you're talking to a little child. You have to actually do that. You have to actually start looking at it like it's an outside thing. It's not who you are. It's just programming. It's all it is. And if you don't want to proceed with that programming, you have to start, kind of phasing it out, basically. And so we have to start talking to it like, no, yeah, we used to think that, but we don't think that anymore. Or you can get kind of, more stern with it and be like, no, we don't do that anymore. No, we don't think that anymore. This is what we think. This is who we are. That's who we used to be.
So when me of Lynn Grabhorn, she used to say tough talk it out. She used to say tough talk it out. Hi ho,
Yeah,
silver away. And I was like,
you
yeah,
have
that's
to
brilliant.
sometimes.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
depends. I tend to be a bit more. I have to. You know, earlier on, thankfully don't have many moments like that anymore. And not to say that they couldn't arise again, because you know, you should go longer and longer periods, you know, without having those moments, basically, as it purges out more and more. But you know, it hasn't been that case for a long time for me, which is great. Yeah. But basically, you want to, yeah, at times just get really strict with it and just tell it, no, we're not doing that. We're not going. You know, that's not who we are. And you know, to just um, basically stop seeing it as who we are, and that we have the opportunity to be who we want to be, and to just, like you say, be consistent with it. It's all about consistency. It's repetition. It's all about that repetition. If you proceed on with it, it has to happen. But it's just a sponge. It's just taking in information. And so, you know, it's just a matter of time. And it depends on the person too, the amount of time. And we have to be in it for the long haul. You know, we have to be prepared to do it as long as it takes, you know, and it will get better and better as you go along. You know, when you start out, you know, you could have quite a few moments in the beginning where you keep going back to the old self, like you kind of like going back pretty frequently even. You know, it can be real quick where it's like you're doing really good for a few days and then boom, you're right back into the old thoughts. And then as you proceed on though, because you are saturating more and more, it becomes more of a dominant thought, that you get more time between those moments where it's coming back out for more purging to come out, and going back into those old patterns and thoughts and things. And then, you know, it should keep stretching out. I like to say every 3 months or so. You know, you should be sort of jumping timelines and, you know, improving pretty drastically every 3 months of this process of reprogramming the mind.
Great, absolutely agreed. I can see that as well with clients that do that. One thing I want to bring up that was really interesting when I had a session with you that kind of coincides with this was you said to me something that I'd never thought of. And the reason why I didn't think of is, like I said in the beginning, there was a lot of disinformation out there about the twin flames and about what we should and shouldn't be doing and what the formula is. And in reality, it is this beautiful alchemic marriage and merging of the energy, a journey of the soul, as you've explained. And in all of your content, you know, you follow it like a journey, you kind of get it. But the thing that we don't do, or the thing that often the feminists I see and I used to do, was we end up projecting our same fears of the masculine onto them. So even though we could be doing incredible affirmations, we could have all, you know, our goals of what we want, you know, creating something, but we're still, that part of the mind is like, oh, but they're going to do what they always did. You know, maybe if the masculine had rejected the feminine, or maybe if the masculine had stood them up 5 times, which was what my masculine loves to do, because that's some programming in me, right? So what I had to do was overcome, because you said to me, you're then what you're doing is you're expecting the worst case scenario of him. You're expecting the timeline version of him that's always going to do that. Therefore, he's going to keep doing that on a loop and a pattern. And you introduced the idea that I could expect the best timeline version of them that was not doing that, that was actually showing up and brave enough, which was something I'd never thought of, because I was told you can't manifest your twin flame, right? Because it's the mind concepts. And so when you did that, and I started doing that to everyone, not just to him, but to everyone, my whole frequency and vibration and my reality shifted.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's right, because that's that expanded consciousness. When you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, I can choose. See, it's so beautiful because actually get to choose. How are we showing up in this world? Who are we? You know, a lot of times we don't, you know, we think we are, you know, sort of set in stone, but we're actually not. We're not that set in stone. We can choose, you know, we can choose new programming if we want, right? You know, we can be whatever we actually want to be. That's the beautiful thing. And we can also choose that for the twin and for everybody, like I'm saying, like the dog. You can choose a new version of the dog or the cat or, you know, the neighbor. We're doing this on a collective scale. That's why it shouldn't be just narrowed into the twin, right? It's not just about the twin flame. It's like, you know, it's a consciousness thing. So, you know, you have your bubble of consciousness and you get to choose basically in your bubble of consciousness. And I get to choose in my bubble of consciousness each version of everybody that I get, including myself. That's
Bring your
my,
light.
it's my choice. My choice in my bubble. Eventually, we will connect our bubbles up. That's what New Earth's going to be like. And that's why it's so important that particularly divine feminines learn how to do this, because that's where we're at. We're at that point of really creating what you want, your own little heaven on earth in your little bubble of creation. And you are to do the same, and everybody that's on this awakening journey that's, you know, scheduled in for moving into New Earth basically, is we're all should be guided now to start doing that, because that's really that's what we're supposed to do. That's what, you know, the original creation design, that's what it is. We are creators. We're meant to create, and there is a multiverse. And so, and it is all vibrational. So, you know, there's multiple realities. There's multiple versions of you, and there's multiple versions of me, and you have created a version of me, and I've created a version of you, you know, for each other essentially. And it's a beautiful thing that we can do that. And so, you know, people are going to get a different experience from me who's manifested essentially a different version of me. And we have that with our twin. So if there's a version of your twin that you don't like, you basically are just choosing a totally different version, because there's a timeline and a version of them that just keeps doing the same thing, the old negative repeating patterns of stuff that you don't like. But there's already a version of them that exists where they're doing all the great stuff that you want them to do. Okay, it's not like you're actually not creating that version. There's a timeline that's already going. It's already happening right now. It's already going. And essentially, this is why it's so important to get to the highest timeline, because that's where it's at. That's where it's already happening. There's already a version of them that's doing that. And so we are just saying, okay, I don't want that version actually of them anymore. You want to just cancel that one out, essentially. You want to collapse that timeline. I don't want to be on that timeline with them where they never get it together. They never stop doing those things, right? Because we are actually creating that through our consciousness, like I was saying as well. So it is essentially so important that we do raise our consciousness, because that's where it's at. It's at that consciousness level of creator mode. I'm creating this. This is my consciousness. This is my creation, and I get to choose what version of myself, him, and everybody else is in my creation.
I love that. And after that session with you where you shared that information, I went off and I did a meditation, and I went through every timeline where he did physically stand me up from meeting, and I changed the timeline. I rewrote it within my mind, within my visualization in the quantum realm. And so then he kept coming back in the physical. Should we meet? You know, so every time I rejected the old version, he then was correcting it in this incarnation. So to see, I mean, I could talk to you about this all day long, and I know we're coming to the end of time now, but quantum timeline realms, shifting timelines, timeline therapy is awesome. It's also a cool part of this journey, I think, and this journey in general, not just the twin flame journey. And I've got so many more questions I would have loved to have asked you, but I'm going to definitely have to ask you back to maybe cover more of this, because you've covered so much incredible information. Is there anything that you feel that's really important right now? Not, you know, astrologically or anything, but in terms of what are happening with feminines and masculines? Is there something they need to be patient with? Is there something they need to be doing? Aside from, definitely everyone needs to come and see you for a session and purchase one of your courses if it's in alignment. But is there anything that you feel at this time we could be doing to help the collective?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think this is going to be a really amazing year. I don't think we've quite gotten to the part of it where it's going to get really exciting. We're really close to that now, because I go more on the zodiac new year. So that would really start in Aries season, which is in the end of March. So we're kind of like creeping up on that now, aren't we? So basically what I can say that's really just something to be mindful of over this next year is that this year is really powerful. For one thing, there's going to be a lot of really amazing balancing energy with both the divine feminines and the divine masculines. We should see them showing up more physically, which is awesome, because they are the physical leader. So we should see them starting to physically show up more and being able to actually hold this connection into the 3D more and more this year, which is really exciting thing to happen. And we are really in a really intensive time of preparation as well. So I would say that it's really important that we are continuing on with staying as physically healthy as we can, and spiritually healthy as we can, and mentally healthy as we can, because what's coming after this this cycle, basically when we get to 2026, I see major things happening, and this is really a time that we need to be preparing sort of for, you could say, because for what's coming is we need to be energetically prepared, basically. So it's going to be pretty intense, but in a good way, not in a bad way. And we are, of course, right on schedule with everything. And everything's been thought of too. Everything has been thought of, and it's actually really gentle. That's the beautiful thing about the divine, is that it allows enough time for everything to happen in a way that's not extreme. It's like you're getting little doses of it. And that's how the twin flame journey works too. It's like you get little doses of it with these, times of togetherness and times of separation. It's all very gentle and beautiful, really. The further you get along, you start to see that. It may not feel like that at times, but it is actually the case, is that, it all has a time and a season, and it's unfolding really naturally and gradually. It's not something that we're expected to do overnight, basically. There is plenty of time allowed for it to happen in a really gentle and beautiful way, almost like you're not even, it's going to happen so naturally that we won't hardly even know that it's happened. It's going to feel so natural. Everything is leading us to the next thing, basically. So just really, I would say it's just really important that we strengthen all of those areas, body, mind, and spirit, because what's coming is really big, really powerful, but in a very beautiful and a lot of love energy, right? It's going to be this intense, heart-opening expansion like never before, and really deepening into New Earth, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So I think, essentially we're all guided, and we don't really have to worry about it too much, to be honest, because we are guided, and everything is really supporting us to move everything along as it is. So, the best thing is just to also kind of go with the flow as well. There can be some unpredictable things that can happen, and don't resist whatever is happening, and start to try to learn to flow with whatever is happening in your reality, moment by moment, basically staying in the moment, and just taking things as they come, and staying out of the mind and flowing with your soul a bit more.
Beautiful, absolutely spot on. So the biggest takeaway for me is to always stay in the now and become the observer of these thoughts, assisting the mind. And how do we do that? Meditation is the greatest tool that we can always do, because meditate literally means to become the observer of. So we observe the thoughts, we take a step back, we stay now in this present moment with our creator. And that's what we came here to do. This whole experience, let's zoom out of the bigger picture, the twin flames, the unions, the perception, the mind, the ascension. Yes, New Earth, we're volunteering to assist this, but ultimately we're here to experience life in this body and to be grateful for our creator for this opportunity. What a time to be alive. What an incredible experience. And if you are navigating this journey specifically and you've watched The Alchemic Marriage, you're like, where am I on my journey? Book a session with Nina. You will not regret it. It has been a game changer for myself. I can vouch for her beautiful soul, her spirit, her energy, her downloads, her wisdom, which has come through for this journey. naturalmystic888.com is the website, and of course her YouTube, which she's got a huge following on. Go subscribe. But thank you so much, Nina, for coming on today and sharing your love and your wisdom and all of your downloads.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Serena. It's really been just such a pleasure. I just love your energy and everything that you're doing there. And I couldn't agree with what you said anymore. It was just beautifully said. So thank you for ending it in such a beautiful way.
And let's be a bit kinder to those masculines, because they really are going through it.
Oh, I'll tell you, mine's really, the last year has been so traumatic for him. But things are about to take a turn in the Aries season.
Bless him. Awesome. Thank you, Nina. Until next time.
Until next time, Serena. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.